This episode has a lot of sound effects. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Product and Cake. Today with me is Paul in the studio.
Hello, Ghonche.
How you doing?
I was worried because we're sitting downstairs and record another podcast and the engineering team sitting upstairs and is running out of tickets.
Oh no.
Yes. They just wrote me a message here on the messenger and said, what should we do? The sprint takes 3 more days, but we finished everything already.
That's an amazing team.
Yes, I know, it's my team. That's why.
They should go home and relax, or what do you suggest?
Yeah, that's a fantastic idea, but I think our management will not be happy if I suggest that.
Well, that's one way to look at it. What was your suggestion?
I was thinking that even though the sprint tickets are empty, our backlog is more than filled.
Okay. So your suggestion is that they take the top priority topic from the backlog then?
Ideally, I have perfectly groomed tickets in the backlog. But before that, maybe we can talk quickly about the process on how to set up a sprint.
Yeah.
And how do I know what to put into and how much feedback do I need to get up front? Mm-hmm. And should we start even a step further and explain what a sprint is?
Yeah, I think that's very important because not all teams have sprints and not all teams need sprints.
Okay, let's make a nice Scrum lesson episode today.
I love it. Let's go.
You start or I start?
Feel free to start.
Okay, so Scrum is a project management tool that was invented, I think, 30 years ago or something. It's crazy old.
Yeah.
And the basic idea is that you put the work into smaller packages and together with the team, you commit on a certain deliverable you can reach within a defined time span. And if you start Googling about Scrum, you find over and over articles, rule books, videos. It will not stop. And there are hardcore Scrum ambassadors that really follows the original ideas. But from my point of view, more important is to pick out the parts that suits your team and the given situation most.
Yeah. I would say the same as well, that it's a framework, and like any other framework, it does not mean that it is going to fit like a glove for every team. And every team for sure has completely different needs and different agendas, of course. So based on that, they need to figure out what parts of it works for them and what parts do not work for them. And maybe you can create your own complete framework from scratch as well.
Yeah. And there are, for me, the most important part are the retrospectives.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because after a certain time span, you sit together and you talk about how you are working together. Mm-hmm. Not about the what, but about the how. And these are the time where you find out, okay, which parts of the framework we should adapt or maybe which should we drop. What is your most favorite part of Scrum?
I actually really like retrospectives, and it is something that I even use in my private life.
Oh, interesting.
I have regular retros with my partner and also my flatmate to make sure that we are not going to have a much bigger problem in the future, but rather solve it as soon as it happens, or rather solve it before even it becomes a problem. But there are a lot of benefits or there are a lot of routines that Scrum has that I think are really important, such as the daily meetings that makes sure that everyone is on the same page already and is going to stay on the same page throughout the day, throughout the week, and so on.
So I am super bored from dailies. I had the experiences in a lot of teams that the daily is, not so valuable because everyone is explaining shortly, okay, I did yesterday this, I will do today that, and unfortunately I was not finishing what I planned yesterday. And this was annoying because I realized that some people are not listening carefully and also that not everyone is working on the same part of the application. So, yeah, some people not caring so much about some deep technical problems on a very different part.
Yeah, that's fair. I think the dailies have a couple of benefits for me as a product manager. First, I understand what is happening, or get a better view of what is happening. And second is it's not for everyone to know what the other person is doing to the detail, but is to be aware of what is the stage of that specific topic. In case the other person is not going to be there the next day, someone else can either report when it has been asked, or they can maybe continue if it's a very important, high priority project or a topic.
Right, but this requires that the other people very, very carefully listen.
Yeah.
And I realized that if this is one of the 20 meetings you have at this day, then it's sometimes difficult to listen.
That is very true.
I want to suggest something different. We just introduced last sprint and we just continue this one. What I did is draw a picture of the user story we are implementing at the moment. Mm-hmm. So the full picture, the full deliverable we want to achieve within that sprint, and everyone have parts of it. Mm-hmm. So we go through this drawing, and whoever is able to say something to certain parts, do it in that moment. Or, and this is the nice thing we are entering now, that some people can say, okay, you don't need to show your shitty drawing. I can show you now the real implementation. Mm-hmm. And nice. Showing something and also putting the content into a bigger context helped me a lot and also the team to follow the meeting, to just not have status reports, but to have a picture that grows from day to day.
That makes a lot of sense. How long does the meeting take?
30 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a little bit long. I think one of the best dailies I had was I have a couple of examples of the best dailies, but we usually end them in 15 minutes or quite fast. Mm-hmm. And we just go through some Jira tickets and just talk about them that, yeah, this one can move this one, let's move it back, and then it's done. And if someone does not have a topic, then they don't need to talk, of course. Mm-hmm. But as a funny thing, there was a time that we had a summer body challenge at the office, and we wanted to. It was a couple months before summer, so during that month, every daily for people who wanted, we're doing the daily in plank.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, that's also a nice idea.
And it was fun because we were doing something different. And also, if you didn't want to, you could have just done anything else. You could have sit down. You could have done from a home office or anything. But also because it was kind of a painful challenge already. You had to listen to something to just not think about how much time is passing. So I think that time made everyone to listen.
Awesome. I will try that also. And also that brings me to remember that it was called back in the days when we all was in the office stand-up, right? Where we stand across the whiteboard.
Yeah, which is not a very inclusive term for it.
Oh, right. We talked about that in the previous episode. I remember now.
But the important thing is that all people gather around the same thing and look at the same thing. This can be in the online meeting around Jira or in the offline meeting around the board that you have. So as long as everyone looks at the same thing, and yes, it's not like one day or another, someone might not listen, but it is.
Yeah, and I think for us as product managers, or if you own the meeting, then it is important to think about how to bring in new perspectives, right? If you change the location, if you change the body position, if you change a challenge, if you change the order, whatever, there are so many. You can also change the video call tool to keep the brains busy a bit.
Or like in the beginning of the days that we all had to join home office instead of being actually in the office, there were these filters that you could be a potato or something, and those stand-ups were always fun.
Also nice.
Yeah, but besides that, I think the dailies have the other benefit as well, that it's not necessarily the information that you might get, but what you will share is some kind of like not a promise, but it's something that you're saying that you're going to do today.
Mm-hmm.
So for yourself is also setting a focus.
But what can you do if someone is constantly repeating that he's not getting what he planned? Right? I mean, I promised to deliver something, but on the next day, I announced that it was more complicated than expected. I need another day and another one. And
I would say the person who's running that meeting, which not only can be the Scrum Master, but also I think it can change from the meeting to meeting if the team does not have a Scrum Master. They can all ask like, what kind of support do you need? Can we do anything? Maybe we should put a blocker in this and move on. Maybe you should take another topic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if there are multiple days that something drags on, the issue is somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
So
Nice.
let's solve that issue maybe.
Yeah. The other issue is also that we are running out of time and there are plenty of more Scrum rituals and parts. What is the next most important thing?
We actually started from the tickets problem,
Yes.
so maybe the refinement or planning are the
Yeah.
thing that we should discuss. But I still have some thoughts on the ticket problem that you have. Shall we discuss it now, or should we discuss it at the end of the podcast?
No, that the tickets are basically the most important information that runs the sprint. They are ordered in a backlog, and every sprint contains a number of tickets.
Yeah.
Right? And ideally you can plan them, you can describe them carefully, and you put them in a relation. And then you have somehow a list from most points from not technical standpoint. And how is it going from this idea, okay, we need these and that features into the sprint? What's coming next?
Nice. And so you also mentioned that your team might have right now some lack of tickets in the sprint. They're done with the tickets in the sprint. But also I want to point the question a little bit differently. What if it's not only the tickets that were refined and were talked about in the sprints that were low, and also what if the team is not at all on Scrum? Maybe they're a Kanban and there are no more tickets.
Mm-hmm.
What then? But also in this specific case that you mentioned, I think it is really good to give the time back to the developers that worked on the topic. Either, yes, they can get maybe not complete 3-4 days off, but maybe they can take an afternoon rest.
Yeah, that's a fantastic idea. It's also never a bad idea to say, okay, focus on what you want to focus. Like
Exactly.
this 20% rule from Google.
Exactly. That was the other idea that I wanted to suggest, that there are a lot of refactoring that always needs to be done and never gets prioritized. So I think those times that are kind of extra times, I think is good to prioritize those items that brings us forward in the long time.
Yeah.
But they do not have an immediate impact.
Mm-hmm. And it could also be a nice motivation for the team to see, okay, there is time left and it's not immediately filled with high priority emergency tickets, but with some slack time.
Yeah, exactly.
Makes sense. But where does the tickets come from initially? Right?
Everywhere. Left, right, up and down. So
what is your process to create a ticket?
There are a lot of different sides and topics that the tickets can come from. Either they can be a bug topic that someone found, and this can be a ticket, or a bug that is not a fire, so it's not an emergency to immediately resolve it. That can wait for being part of the sprint. Or sometimes there are specific initiatives in the company that you need to align, and also there comes a lot of tickets. But most of the time, the tickets will come from the OKR process or the quarterly, monthly, or whatever the company goes by. And it's either OKR process, a goal process, or a way to make sure that all the efforts of the team or of the company is going to the same direction. It can be a focus area definition. It can be a metric setting, a goal setting, or OKR, or highest risk assumption, any way that the team defines on a regular basis. As an example here, we take a quarterly OKR process. Based on this quarterly OKR process, there are some key metrics defined and the goals that needs to be reached for those key metrics. As an example, the metric A needs to be increased by 10%, or the main conversion rate of the platform needs to be increased by 20%. And then based on that, the team sits together and say, okay, what can we do? What does this mean? Like, for example, write down the KPI tree. And where does this 20% can come from? Where do we lose the most? Okay, let's start working on those. And then together they define all the initiatives that they can do to achieve to that specific target. And then after all of those ideation is done, those items as initiatives will be divided in tickets and then shared with the team.
And who's creating these tickets?
It can be the job of product manager, which is often the time it is. It can be the role of the product owner. Sometimes it is the tech lead that does this, or not the manager of the tech team. That's not what I mean, but the person who leads the tech team. Mm-hmm. There can be multiple players who create these tickets, but this needs to be an already existing rule for the team that, okay, the person who creates a team is this, the process of creating the tickets is this, the process of tickets to be refined and coming to the hands of developers is this.
And what if the people who are exposed to create the tickets are so busy with other things, right? They run from one ideation to the other, they sit in strategy meetings, they discuss about urgent things, and then
delegation.
Where do they took the time from to create the tickets in a level that is really thought through, right? I can easily create 20 tickets with just a title and say, hey, change the button to green. That's fine, but this is not, or this is another question. How detailed are these tickets, and where is coming the grip?
Again, how detailed the ticket is needs to be an agreement, a discussion that the team needs to have had together before. That, okay, we will consider a ticket ready for development when these things are done. And then when these things are defined in the ticket. Or no, just a title would work, like we want to be part of the creative process of this, and we will define it if it does not matter for the business.
Coming back to the retrospective, right? To make this agreement.
Exactly. Yeah.
I really like this point. I think it's very important to make this explicit.
Yeah.
And to align the expectations.
Yeah, which is also like these two parts, the definition of ready and definition of done, are two very important parts of Scrum and Agile in general, that you define things and you will have an agreement together and you make sure that it is written somewhere so everyone can look back at it, everyone can point to it. Mm-hmm. And after the agreement is created, it can change. It can, in a next retro, it can come up that, actually we went by this, we tried this, it does not work for us, so let's change it. And then you actually change the agreement. Okay, from now on, it will be the agreement until we need to change it again.
Right. And you want to change it after a sprint, right? Not in between and not by random, but on a defined time and during the retrospective.
Ideally, yes, unless something very horrifying happens in the middle that you have to, or something completely changes that it's out of the control.
Yeah. Right. So part of the agreement could be how detailed the ticket description is.
Exactly.
And I recently had the discussion that if I write a ticket that is 100% detailed and explain exactly on tech level what needs to be done, then following up on our last episode, in a few days to weeks, an AI will take the ticket and implement it. I need human brains to bring in life and to bring in creativity and a glimpse of inspiration.
Yeah, but also, why should you define all the technical details to 100%?
so no one can make a mistake if they follow them carefully.
So okay, it opens a lot of layers here. First, why are we afraid so much of these kind of mistakes? And second is that it is important to trust the team that we have, because they are the person who have been hired for that job. Like I in no shape or form have the technical knowledge to define the tickets with what it needs to be done technically. What I can define and what I will define is what I want the user to feel, what I want the measure, the KPI to behave after this, and how I want this to behave. First of all, I don't care, and second, I cannot define how it will be implemented technically.
I hope you just heard me typing, because I added a few more points to our product and cake topic list, because this episode is ending here, right in between talking about this very interesting topic. I took already an important point with me to that it is okay to give the engineers time, or to say, hey, yeah, do whatever you want, basically. You don't need to fill up with tickets immediately. And the second point is to have this written down agreement.
Yeah,
I think it is so valuable, and I hope all of our listeners also took something from it, are subscribing to our feed on every platform, and I'm looking forward to the next recording with you, Ghonche.
Yeah, same here. And I hope people are staying interested in this topic until the part 2 of this comes out.
Yeah, very soon, very soon.
All right. So thank you for listening up to this point. I really appreciate it. We really appreciate it. And if you have any feedback for us, we would love to hear it, right?
Yes, totally. Feedback and questions and also opposite opinions are always welcome.
And also, if you have any recommendation for us, what topic to talk about, if you have any person in mind that you think we should interview for any specific topic you have in mind, we would love to hear that. So you can send it to us via email.
Yeah, sure. Or via social media networks. You will find us, I guess.
Yes, there will be some info of how to contact us in the description.
Yeah,
Look for it.
Or send it via snail mail to mobile.de office and write CO Product and Cake Podcast. So a lot of people will know about the podcast then.
That's a good point. Let's do it. Thank you. And bye again.